You're watching the Norfolk Southern Sherwood subdivision. I'm Harold, thanks for watching. On this channel you will find operations, layout construction, and how-to videos. In today's video, we will learn how to make a control panel. If you're not interested in learning about control panels or you don't use them, you may enjoy some of our other videos which can be found in the playlists on our channel. For those of you who are interested in learning how to make a control panel, we're going to start that right now. This is a control panel. It has the minimal elements that you might need in a control panel. The toggle switches to control the turnouts. Each switch is labeled so you know which switch controls which turnout or set of turnouts. But it's not very attractive, and it's not in a really good location, and it doesn't go with the overall theme of the layout. So if you want to do something simple, do something like this. But coming up next, we'll show you something a little more elegant that I think will fit your needs much better, and it's an example of what we're going to build in this video. What you're seeing now is the type of control panel that we will be building. This is the existing control panel for Sherwood. It has a lot of things that will be useful to your operators. First of all, where are we? We're in Sherwood. Second of all, how do I control all the turnouts that I may need to negotiate to get to my destination? These toggle switches are located right on the track plan, and the track plan represents all the track in Sherwood. Furthermore, each track has a name. So when your operator is told, for example, to spot something at Sherwood Yard 1, they will not only know where it is, but how to set the turnouts in order to reach that location. Finally, and this is just for your help, every turnout has a number or an identity. You can see it there. And that will assist you in your wiring, perhaps debugging of your electrical wiring, those sorts of things. As part of our Sherwood redevelopment, we have added 2 new turnouts right here. And we have taken the toggle switch that used to be here for the intermodal lead, and we have relocated it to the intermodal control panel that I showed you earlier. The result of that is this diagram is now out of date and needs to be replaced. We have returned to the workbench where we are going to cut out our plastic. And here's how this is going to work. We have a piece of acrylic sheet here. It's 10 by 8 by 080 inches. We are going to lay this on top of our track diagram, and that will be our control panel. So we have our revised track diagram right here, and we've measured out and have determined that the height of this should be 6 inches. So we're going to have to cut 2 inches off of it. The way we do this is, we take a couple of clamps. We've marked off our 6 inches. Put the clamps on here. A good tight clamp on this so it's not going to move. When you purchase this acrylic sheet, they will also sell you a tool that looks like this. It's a scribing tool, and this is the scribing part. So what we're going to do is very similar to what you would do with styrene sheet. We're going to score along this line until we've done enough, and then we are going to snap it off. So let's get started with that. Alright, let's see if this will snap off for us. what happened here, let's see. Well, one of them snapped off correctly, and we have this little piece left here. So we're going to do a little more work on that piece. So, this being acrylic sheet, it's got sharp corners, and we have a little irregularity here where it didn't snap off like we wanted it to. So what we're going to do is get out the old file and smooth off the edges. And that's not a very interesting process, so I'll do that and be back when it's done. Returning to our control panel project, I've taken the acrylic that we made and I've rounded off the edges and I've sanded and filed off the corners so we don't have any sharpness now. It's all very nice and smooth. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take our track diagram, we're going to sandwich it under our acrylic and drill holes in it. When we go to use this, we will be inserting the toggle switches in the back. So I've taken the additional precaution of cutting a sheet of, this is clear clear styrene, to protect the back of our piece of paper so that it doesn't get damaged when we put the toggle switches in. Thinking about our paper, I probably didn't say enough about this earlier. All this is a PowerPoint diagram printed on a piece of computer paper. I use PowerPoint because I know how to use it. There are plenty of drawing tools out there, and most of them will suitably create something of this type. So the mission at this point is to get all these things lined up. Now don't worry about all that stuff that's underneath there because we're going to remove this and clean it later on. And when we believe it's lined up properly, we will put a clamp on each corner. When I created the diagram, I put little marks, those X's, where the holes need to be drilled. So we're all set to go with drilling the holes. Before we start that for real, let me show you how not to drill holes. This is the scrap piece of styrene that we cut off. And when you go to drill holes, you're going to be tempted to use the most power you've got. For me, that's my cordless drill. So I have the cordless drill, I have clamped in a 1/4 inch bit, and the tendency would be to just go for it as rapidly as possible. I'll see what happens. Oh, well, that's what happens. Let's back this up and get it out of here. So there's what happens. You get a hole that's not a hole, not round. In the worst case, this will fracture. That's a little too much power. So the easier method would be to use your cordless screwdriver. You want something that's slower. So the process we're going to use is we will drill a pilot hole with our cordless screwdriver. Let the bit do the work, don't push down on it. We have our pilot hole. Change bits. I have a brand new 1/4 inch bit, so it's as sharp as it can be. And just do this very slowly and let the bit do the work. The result, which is hard to see on the camera, I'm sure, a perfectly round hole. So this is something you should not use. Instead, use something slow, like your cordless screwdriver. Of course, if you have one of those old vertical rotary drill presses, that would be perfect for this because they're nice and slow and they're perfectly vertical. Having done that, we will proceed on to the main event, which is to drill the actual holes. And we will use the process that I just demonstrated. I'll show you one and then we'll do the rest. Find where that little X is with your screwdriver. Drill a pilot hole. Yes, it's going to take longer than it would with our cordless screwdriver, but we've done a lot of work to get this into this condition. We wouldn't want to ruin it at this stage. Put your 1/4 inch bit in there where the pilot hole is, and you do the same thing. And the result is a very nice hole. Now that you've seen that, we'll proceed to do the rest of them. It's all the same. There we go. All the holes are drilled. Now, we're going to take this apart. And you can see we've created quite a mess here. There may be, and sometimes this happens, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the paper gets damaged when you drill the hole. So if that occurs, and it's bad enough that the nut that's around the toggle switch won't cover it, all you do is print yourself out another diagram and cut the holes in there manually using a hobby knife with a sharp blade. We're going to take this apart because we wouldn't want to mount it looking like that. So we're going to remove all the pieces. We're going to clean this up. Those holes don't look so bad that they can't be used. The most important cleanup, that's the back part there. Just, there are little edges along there, you just clean those up. The most important thing we will do is wash this, because if we don't do that, you're going to end up with a control panel that looks like that, with all that white stuff in there, and that just is not the right appearance. So a little cleanup, and after we do that, we'll return. Having washed off our piece of acrylic, so it's nice and clean, what we were trying to do is make sure that the back doesn't have any finger marks on it. So now we will take our 3-piece sandwich and reassemble it, making sure that the holes are all lined up. And we will do what we did before. We will clamp it into place. I'm using these rubber gloves to avoid fingerprints. Fingerprints on the front are easy to get rid of because you can clean it. Fingerprints underneath, not so much. So we need to protect against that. There we go. All the holes line up, and we are ready to install this on the layout, which we will do next. To begin our installation, we have removed the old control panel and have labeled each of the toggle switches with the turnout or turnouts that it controls. Now, one thing you should do, and I'm doing that now, is turn the power on. And we just turned the power on. The reason is the contacts on the back of these double pole, double throw toggle switches are really close together. And if in the process of installing one you create a short, you'll know it right away. That's better than putting them all in and turning the power on and having a short and then trying to figure out where it is. So this is a relatively, let me get this thing out of the way. It's a relatively simple process. We have this, and we're going to put the appropriate toggle switches in the correct location. The first thing you need to do is find a toggle switch. This one is for our programming track. Move the nut from it and hope you don't drop it. Bring in your control panel, place it in the hole where it belongs. It's a tight fit, and it should be. And then you're concerned about the orientation. This one goes up and down. That's up, that's down. So now we have that in. We get our nut. Get it started. And then tighten it. Okay, that's the first one. Now it's probably, what we'd really like to do is get rid of these clamps. So the next logical one would be to do this one that's T1 and T2. Now, as you can see in our diagram, this is a crossover. Oh, I just created a short. Okay, hold on a second while I figure that out. The short was easily resolved, and that's a good example of why you need to do this with the power on. So getting back to T1 and T2, it should be oriented that way, left and right, because it's a crossover. So the convention for this layout is, if it's pointed to the right, the crossover is not in effect. And if we look at our turnouts, that's exactly where they are right now. So they're in the correct position. We can tighten this up. And we'll keep going on this till we have all of them done. At this point we have mounted all the toggle switches and they are ready to go. The only thing, we've tested them all of course, the only thing that's necessary now is to mount the control panel. And what we don't want to do is try to use the pre-existing holes, because we're not sure how sturdy that will be. So it's going to get mounted approximately in this location. I'm going to put mounting holes here, 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 and here, which is where the mounting holes on the other panel were not. We have made the mounting holes. Now we're going to mount them with screws. They're Phillips head screws. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to use this because it's too powerful. So do this by hand. So there you have it. The Sherwood control panel is done and mounted. That's control panel building from start to finish. We thank you for joining us. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the space below. And we hope you enjoyed your visit to the Norfolk Southern Sherwood subdivision.